The empty throne. The grand constellation hall floated in the void between star systems, a masterpiece of cooperative engineering that had taken 12 species 40 generations to complete. Its crystalline walls stretched for kilometers, refracting the light of distant stars into prismatic patterns that danced across the assembly floor. Today marked the 150th cycle since its completion, and delegates from 892 civilized worlds had gathered for the traditional ceremony of unity. Ambassador Xyloth of the Kryn Dominion adjusted his sensory appendages as he took his position among the junior delegates. His species had only joined the Galactic Coalition 30 cycles ago, and this was his first attendance at the grand ceremony. Everything about the hall impressed him. The technology, the architecture, the sheer scale of cooperation it represented. But one thing puzzled him more than anything else. In the exact center of the hall, elevated on a platform of pure starlight, sat a throne. Not just any throne, but perhaps the most magnificent seat ever constructed. Its frame was woven from threads of condensed gravity, making it shimmer with visible space-time distortions. The cushions were made from stellar plasma, somehow frozen into solid form while maintaining their ethereal glow. Precious metals from 1,000 worlds formed intricate patterns across its surface, and at its peak, a crown of crystallized dark matter pulsed with mysterious energy. The throne was empty. It had always been empty. Xyloth turned to his mentor, Ambassador Krill, a veteran diplomat from the same delegation. "Why do we maintain a seat for a species that never comes? The humans have refused every invitation for 150 cycles. Surely the resources could be better used." Krill's eye stalks drooped, a gesture that among their people indicated profound unease. "Young one, you speak of things you do not understand. That seat is not an invitation. It is a reminder." Before Xyloth could ask what that meant, the ceremony began. High Arbiter Nexum materialized at the center podium, his energy form coalescing into something approximately humanoid for the benefit of corporeal species. His voice, translated simultaneously into 892 languages, filled the hall with harmonious resonance. "We gather today to celebrate unity, cooperation, and the bonds that tie our civilizations together across the vast darkness of space. We remember those who came before us, those who stand with us now, and those we hope will join us in the future." Nexum gestured toward the empty throne. As he did, holographic records began to play in the air above it. Images of a small blue planet third from its yellow star. Images of a species that looked fragile, soft-bodied, without natural weapons or armor. 50 cycles ago, we detected the signals of a new spacefaring species. The humans of Earth had just achieved faster-than-light travel. As per our protocols, we sent our finest diplomatic vessel, the Dawn of Tomorrow, to make first contact. It carried 300 diplomats, scientists, and cultural experts from 70 different species. We approached with open hearts and open minds, ready to welcome humanity into the galactic community. The hologram shifted, showing the diplomatic vessel approaching Earth's orbit. Xyloth leaned forward with interest. He had heard whispers about humanity, fragments of stories that senior diplomats refused to discuss. Now perhaps he would finally understand. "The humans welcomed us warmly," Nexum continued. "They were excited, eager to learn, fascinated by the diversity of life in the galaxy. Their leaders met with our diplomats. Their scientists collaborated with our researchers. For 3 full planetary rotations, everything proceeded perfectly. We began drafting the accession treaties that would make Earth the 893rd member of our coalition." The hologram now showed scenes of celebration. Humans and aliens working together, sharing meals, exchanging gifts. It all looked so normal, so positive. And then, Nexum's voice dropped lower. "Our security team discovered something in their routine scan of Earth's defensive systems, something that should have been impossible." The hologram changed. It now showed a massive orbital station, unlike anything Xyloth had seen before. Its design was strange, asymmetrical, covered in equipment that seemed to serve no obvious purpose. "We asked the humans about it," Nexum said. "They were very forthcoming. They called it the Echoes Protocol. When we asked what it did, their lead scientist, a woman named Dr. Elena Vasquez, smiled and said, 'It ensures fairness.'" A new hologram appeared, showing the human scientist. She was small, barely reaching the chest height of most galactic species. Her hair was tied back and she wore simple clothing, But her eyes held something that made Xyloth's respiratory systems flutter with instinctive alarm. The recorded Dr. Vasquez spoke in the human language, with translation appearing as text. You want to know about the Echo's protocol? Of course. You're going to be our neighbors, after all. You should understand how we think about defense. She gestured to a display screen behind her. It showed Earth's solar system, with hundreds of stations marked throughout. Humans learned something important early in our history. We learned it from our own mistakes, from the countless times we hurt each other, destroyed each other, erased each other's cultures and peoples. We learned that the only way to prevent destruction is to make destruction equally costly for everyone involved. The display zoomed out, showing lines extending from Earth toward distant star systems, thousands of lines, millions. The Echo's protocol is simple in concept, Dr. Vasquez continued. If Earth is destroyed, if humanity faces extinction, the protocol activates automatically. And when it activates, it sends out a signal. Not a weapon, not a bomb. Just a signal. She paused and her smile grew wider. It was not a cruel smile, Xyloth noticed. It was the smile of someone who had made peace with something terrible. That signal triggers devices we placed throughout the galaxy over the past 80 years. Small devices no bigger than a human fist hidden in asteroids, on moons, in deep space. We've been exploring, you see. Quietly. Carefully. Learning about all of you while you learned about us. The hologram pulled back to show the entire diplomatic team. They had gone very still. One of them, a delegate from the Thermian Collective, spoke up. What do these devices do? Dr. Vasquez looked directly at the camera. They echo. If humanity dies, every signal we ever sent into space gets echoed back. Every transmission, every broadcast, every piece of data we scattered across the cosmos for the past 200 years. All of it gets amplified and transmitted simultaneously from millions of sources. There was confused silence from the diplomatic team. One of them asked, why? What purpose does that serve? Because, Dr. Vasquez said softly, buried in those transmissions are instructions. Detailed instructions on how to build weapons like the ones that destroyed us. Instructions on how to create planet-killing devices, how to engineer extinction-level viruses, how to collapse stars, how to trigger supernovas. Every terrible thing humanity ever invented or imagined, spread across the entire galaxy in every language we could create, in every format we could devise. The silence in the hologram was absolute. The silence in the grand Constellation Hall 150 cycles later was equally complete. You're going to weaponize the galaxy, one diplomat whispered in the recording. We're going to arm everyone, Dr. Vasquez corrected. Every species, every world, every civilization that can receive a signal. If we die, within 10 cycles, every inhabited planet in the galaxy will have the knowledge to destroy themselves and their neighbors, the technology to create weapons they were never meant to have. Another diplomat found their voice. That's insane. You would doom the entire galaxy to chaos and war? Dr. Vasquez shook her head. No, we're ensuring that if we're doomed, everyone shares the consequences. Right now you have order because advanced species control dangerous knowledge. You maintain peace through power imbalance. But if Earth falls, that balance disappears. Every primitive species suddenly has access to weapons of mass destruction. Every peaceful world suddenly has neighbors who know how to build doomsday devices. The galaxy doesn't end, but the peace you've built over millions of years, that ends immediately. She stood up, walking closer to the camera. So here's what humans are offering. We don't join your coalition. We stay independent, neutral, friendly, but separate. We continue to trade with you, share our culture, learn from yours, and in exchange, the Echo's protocol stays inactive. Your peace remains secure. Your civilization continues as it has for millennia. And if we refuse, asked the lead diplomat, if we demand you join us or dismantle these devices, Dr. Vasquez's expression didn't change. Then you'll have to destroy us to enforce your demand. And the moment you do, the Echoes activate. Every species in the galaxy gets armed with weapons they're not ready for. You'll spend the next 1,000 cycles dealing with wars and extinctions across every corner of known space. Is making us join your club worth that price? The hologram froze on her face. Nexum's voice filled the hall once more. We ran projections. Our best strategic computers, our greatest tactical minds, even the architects who think in dimensions beyond our comprehension. Every simulation showed the same result. If the Echo's protocol activates, galactic civilization as we know it will collapse within 50 cycles. Not from direct destruction, but from chaos. From species gaining power they're not ready to wield responsibly. Xyloth felt his breathing accelerate. This was why senior diplomats refused to discuss humanity. This was why that magnificent throne sat empty. We tried to find the devices, Nexum continued. We searched for 10 cycles. Do you know how many we found? 17. Out of an estimated 4.7 million. The humans had hidden them too well, spread them too far. And each one we found had a failsafe. If tampered with, it triggered immediately. The High Arbiter gestured toward the empty throne again. So we built this. We built it to honor humanity's right to independence. We built it to remind ourselves that not all species think as we do. That some species value autonomy over unity so deeply they'll threaten the galaxy to maintain it. And we built it to remember the lesson humanity taught us. What lesson? Xyloth asked, unable to contain himself. Several delegates turned to look at him, but Nexum seemed to appreciate the question. That peace maintained through forced participation is not true peace. That sometimes the most dangerous species is not the one with the biggest fleet, but the one willing to accept mutual destruction, rather than submit. That humanity, in their strange way, showed us we had become tyrannical in our democracy. We assumed everyone wanted to join us, should join us, must join us for their own good. Nexum's form dimmed slightly. The humans said no. They said no with such finality, with such commitment, that we had no choice but to listen. The throne remains empty because they want it empty, and we maintain it because we respect that choice now, even if it terrifies us. The ceremony continued, but Xyloth barely heard the rest. His mind was racing, processing the implications. Humanity had held the entire galaxy hostage. No, not hostage. They had simply made their independence so costly to violate that no one would dare try. As the delegates filed out after the ceremony, Xyloth approached Krill again. Do we still trade with them? Interact with them? Of course, Krill said. Humans are actually quite pleasant. They're creative, innovative, friendly even. They just refuse to be controlled. Their merchants visit our worlds. Their artists share their works. Their scientists collaborate on projects. They're part of the galactic community in every way except the official one. And the Echo's protocol? Still active. Still waiting. Still reminding us every single day that humanity values their freedom more than they fear death, more than they fear our disapproval, more than they fear anything we could possibly threaten them with. Xyloth looked back at the empty throne, shimmering in the starlight. It was the most expensive, most beautiful, most carefully maintained seat in the galaxy, and it would remain empty for as long as humanity existed, because humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Some species couldn't be invited to join civilization. They had to be allowed to stand beside it on their own terms. And that throne, that magnificent empty throne, was the galaxy's acknowledgement of that truth. The price of understanding. The observation lounge on the Coalition's primary diplomatic station offered a view of 17 star systems simultaneously, a testament to the structure's unique position in folded space. Ambassador Xyloth stood at the viewport, a data tablet clutched in his manipulator appendages, trying to process what he had learned during the ceremony. Behind him, Ambassador Krill approached with 2 other senior diplomats, individuals whose species had been part of the Coalition long before humanity ever left their solar system. You have questions, Krill said. It wasn't an inquiry, but a statement of fact. Xyloth turned to face them. I have hundreds of questions, but the primary one is this. Why haven't we simply destroyed Earth? We have 892 member worlds, thousands of warships, weapons that can crack planets. Why do we let one species hold us hostage? The eldest of the group, Ambassador Thyron of the Veiled Reaches, settled his massive form onto a reinforced bench. His species had been spacefaring for 12 million cycles, had seen civilizations rise and fall like waves on a shore. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of eons. Because, young Ambassador, humanity didn't just threaten us with the Echo's protocol. They proved they would use it. Let me tell you about the incident of the Crimson Moon. Thyron activated his own display, projecting images into the space between them. 40 cycles after first contact, a rogue faction within the Coalition decided to call humanity's bluff. They called themselves the Purification Fleet, extremists who believed that any species unwilling to join the Coalition peacefully should be eliminated for the greater good. They gathered ships in secret, recruited followers from 30 different worlds, and launched an assault on Earth's orbital defenses. The projection showed massive warships, their hulls bearing the insignia of various coalition species. Psyloth counted at least 300 vessels, enough firepower to sterilize a planet's surface multiple times over. The humans detected them coming, of course, Thyron continued. They had plenty of time to activate the Echo's protocol completely. Time to doom the galaxy to chaos and war. But they didn't. Do you know what they did instead? Psyloth shook his head, transfixed by the projection. They activated it partially, just one device, hidden on a moon in the Crimson Sector, a region inhabited by a young species called the Delthari. The Delthari had only achieved spaceflight 20 cycles prior. They were peaceful, curious, eager to explore but not yet ready for advanced technology. The projection shifted, showing a lush red moon orbiting a gas giant. Then it showed the device activating, a pulse of information spreading across that sector of space. The Echo's device transmitted one specific piece of information: how to build a quantum destabilizer, a weapon that could tear apart molecular bonds at a distance. Within 3 cycles, the Delthari had built 17 of them. Within 5 cycles, a political dispute on their homeworld turned violent. Within 7 cycles, their entire civilization had collapsed into war. Their population of 14 billion was reduced to 300 million before they finally achieved peace again. Psyloth felt his respiratory systems constrict. The humans killed billions of innocents to prove a point? No, Krill interjected sharply. The humans proved that the Echo's protocol was real, functional, and exactly as devastating as they claimed. They chose the Delthari because that sector of space contained no coalition worlds. The damage was contained to one system, and then they sent a message to us. Another projection appeared, showing a human male this time, different from Dr. Vasquez. He was older, with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes that suggested a lifetime of difficult decisions. The nameplate identified him as Admiral Marcus Chen, Earth Defense Coordinator. The recorded message played. To the Purification Fleet and any others who doubt our resolve, what you just witnessed was a demonstration using one device and one piece of knowledge. We have 4.7 million devices positioned throughout the galaxy. Each one contains every piece of destructive knowledge humanity has ever developed. If we activate them all, what happened to the Delthari will happen to every species in the galaxy simultaneously. Hundreds of civilizations will tear themselves apart within cycles. Thousands will face extinction within decades. Your ancient peace will become ancient history. Admiral Chen leaned forward, his expression carved from stone. We didn't want to demonstrate this. The Delthari did nothing to deserve what we inflicted upon them. Their blood is on your hands, not ours. You forced this demonstration by refusing to believe we meant what we said. We are now offering reparations to the Delthari, technological aid to rebuild, medical supplies to heal their wounded. We will spend the next century helping them recover from what your disbelief caused. He paused, letting that sink in. But make no mistake, if you attack Earth, if you threaten humanity's independence again, we will activate every device. We will not hesitate. We will not negotiate. We will simply press the button and watch the galaxy burn. Your move, the projection ended. Psyloth stood in stunned silence. The Purification Fleet's attack. He had heard of it in historical records but never understood what really happened. The fleet retreated, Thyron said quietly. They disbanded entirely within a cycle. Most of their members turned themselves in to face justice for unauthorized military action. And the Coalition Council convened an emergency session that lasted 60 cycles. We debated, argued, ran simulations, consulted with every expert we had, and we came to a unanimous conclusion. What conclusion? Psyloth asked, though part of him didn't want to know. That humanity had found the perfect defense. Not perfect in the sense of invulnerable, but perfect in the sense of completely rational. They had made the cost of conquering them far exceed any possible benefit. They had turned their own weakness into strength by tying their survival to galactic stability. Ambassador Krill activated another display. After the incident, we tried to understand why humans think this way. We sent anthropologists, psychologists, cultural experts. We studied their history going back to their earliest civilizations, and we discovered something fascinating and terrifying. The display showed images from human history, ancient battles, medieval sieges, modern warfare. Humans evolved in a state of constant conflict, not just with predators or their environment, but with each other. For thousands of years, humans fought humans. Tribes against tribes, kingdoms against kingdoms, nations against nations. They developed warfare into an art form, a science, a fundamental aspect of their civilization. More images appeared, showing siege warfare. When humans attacked a fortified position, they learned that the defender always had one final option: destroy everything. Burn the food stores, poison the wells, collapse the walls, make victory so costly that the attacker would rather retreat than press forward. Humans call this scorched earth tactics. Make yourself useless to conquer. Xyloth stared at the images of burning cities, ruined fortifications. They destroyed their own homes rather than let enemies take them. Repeatedly, Krill confirmed. Throughout their history, across every culture, every continent, every era, humans would rather see everything burn than allow conquest. It's not a strategy they use sometimes. It's their fundamental approach to existential threats. They even have a saying, "If I can't have it, no one can." Thyron added, "We consulted with human philosophers to understand this mindset. One of them explained it like this: humans believe that autonomy, self-determination, freedom, these things are more valuable than survival itself. A human who lives as a slave is not truly alive in our eyes. We would rather die free than live in chains. And if someone tries to chain us, we'll make sure they regret it, even if we don't survive to see that regret." The old ambassador's form shifted, a sign of deep discomfort. They meant it literally. "We tested them, not through violence, but through diplomatic pressure. We offered them technology, resources, membership benefits. We showed them what they were missing by staying independent. Do you know how they responded?" Xyloth shook his head. "They thanked us politely and declined. Every single time. We offered them medical technology that could extend their lifespans by centuries. They said no. We offered them construction techniques that could build cities in days. They said no. We offered them access to the great archives, repositories of knowledge spanning millions of years. They said no." Krill's eye stalks drooped again. "We finally asked them directly, is there anything that would convince you to join the coalition?" The human ambassador at the time, a woman named Ambassador Sarah Okonkwo, looked at us with those strange binocular eyes of theirs and said, "Nothing. There is nothing you can offer us that is worth our independence. We would rather struggle, suffer, and die as free beings than live in comfort as members of your coalition." "But why?" Xyloth asked, frustrated. "Why value independence over prosperity? Over advancement? Over peace?" Thyron made a sound that the translator rendered as a bitter laugh. "Because humans learned through painful experience that peace imposed from outside is not true peace. Throughout their history, empires rose that promised peace, prosperity, and unity, and inevitably, those empires became tyrannical. They crushed dissent, eliminated diversity, forced compliance. Humans learned to fear large, powerful organizations that promise safety in exchange for submission." Another projection appeared, showing Earth's historical timeline. When humans developed their first global communication networks, they went through something called the Information Age. For a brief period, they thought connecting everyone would bring peace and understanding. Instead, they discovered that large networks could be used for surveillance, control, and manipulation. Their own government spied on them. Corporations tracked their behavior. Authoritarian regimes used technology to crush opposition. The timeline advanced. This taught humans a crucial lesson. The bigger the organization, the more dangerous it becomes. The coalition, from humanity's perspective, is the ultimate expression of that danger. We span the galaxy. We have weapons that can destroy stars. We have technology that seems like magic to younger species. And we're asking them to trust us, to join us, to give up their independence and accept our protection. Krill finished the thought. From our perspective, we're offering them membership in a peaceful, prosperous civilization. From their perspective, we're asking them to surrender the one thing they value above all else: the right to determine their own fate. And they've made it clear they would rather see the galaxy burn than give up that right. Xyloth processed this, his mind struggling with the implications. So the Echo's protocol is not just a weapon. It's a philosophical statement. Precisely, Thyron agreed. Humans built it to tell us we will not submit. We cannot be conquered, and if you try to force us, you will lose everything you've built, even if we lose everything too. It's the ultimate expression of their core value, freedom or death, with an emphasis on making sure death is shared equally. The senior ambassador accessed another file. We've spent 150 cycles studying human culture, and we keep finding the same theme repeated endlessly. In their literature, their films, their music, their art, everywhere we look, humans celebrate those who refuse to submit. They write songs about rebellion. They tell stories about resistance. They create heroes who die rather than compromise their principles. Images flooded the display. Book covers, movie posters, song lyrics, all from human culture. Xyloth saw titles like Resistance, Revolution, Freedom Fighter, The Last Stand, appearing over and over in different languages, different eras, different formats. This is not a temporary phase, Thyron said. This is not something humans will grow out of. This is fundamental to who they are as a species, and the Echoes Protocol is simply the logical extension of that philosophy applied to galactic politics. Krill added, We've also discovered something else about humans that makes them particularly dangerous. They're exceptional at teaching their values to other species. In the 150 cycles since first contact, we've seen 17 coalition member species begin questioning whether membership is truly voluntary. They look at humanity's independence and wonder if they made the right choice by joining us. This caught Xyloth's attention. Species are considering leaving the coalition? Not yet, Krill said carefully. But they're thinking about it. Humans don't proselytize, don't try to recruit others to their philosophy. They simply exist as an example. A species that said no to the greatest alliance in galactic history, and not only survived but thrived. Other species notice that. They wonder if they could do the same. Thyron's form dimmed with what might have been sadness. The irony is that humans are actually very beneficial to galactic civilization. Their traders are honest and fair. Their artists create works that resonate across species barriers. Their scientists make contributions to collaborative research projects. They participate in disaster relief efforts. They've even helped defend coalition worlds from pirate attacks, asking nothing in return except that we respect their independence. They're good neighbors, Krill agreed, just not good members. They refuse to follow coalition law, refuse to accept coalition authority, refuse to subordinate themselves to our democratic processes, but they also don't cause problems. They stay in their territory, maintain peaceful relations with everyone, and simply go about their business. Xyloth looked out the viewport again, toward the distant sector of space where Earth resided. So we maintain that empty throne as a symbol, not of invitation but of acceptance. We accept that humanity will never join us, and we're publicly acknowledging their right to remain independent. More than that, Thyron said, that throne represents the limits of coalition power. It's a reminder that we cannot force unity, cannot demand submission, cannot compel membership without becoming the very thing we claim to oppose. An empire built on conquest rather than cooperation. The old ambassador stood, his massive form blocking the viewport. Humans taught us that true cooperation must be voluntary. That peace built on coercion is no peace at all. That sometimes respecting another species' right to say no is more important than expanding our membership. The empty throne is our acknowledgement of that lesson. Krill turned to Xyloth. You asked why we don't simply destroy Earth. Now you understand. Because doing so would validate every fear humans have about large, powerful organizations. It would prove them right about us. It would demonstrate that our talk of cooperation and democracy is just a mask for authoritarianism, and it would trigger the Echoes Protocol, dooming the galaxy to chaos. But more than that, Thyron added, destroying Earth would destroy something precious, a species that values freedom so highly they built an apocalyptic defense system to protect it, a species that would rather die than submit. In a galaxy of ancient civilizations that have learned to compromise, to cooperate, to prioritize stability over principle, humans are a reminder of what we once were, young, fierce, willing to fight for what we believed in. The three senior diplomats moved toward the exit, leaving Xyloth alone with his thoughts. As they reached the door, Krill turned back. The empty throne will remain empty for as long as humanity exists, perhaps forever. But that's acceptable, because every time we see it, we remember that freedom cannot be gifted, cannot be granted, cannot be given from above. It can only be taken, defended, and sometimes held at the point of mutually assured destruction. Humans call it the Echoes Protocol, Thyron added. We call it the price of understanding. The price we pay for understanding that true cooperation requires respecting those who choose to stand alone. They left, and Xyloth remained at the viewport, staring into the vast darkness of space. Somewhere out there on a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, 8 billion humans went about their lives, trading, creating, exploring, living, and beneath them, hidden in their orbital stations, the Echo's protocol waited silently. A weapon that would never be fired as long as no one forced humanity to fire it. A threat that would remain dormant as long as everyone remembered the lesson of the empty throne. A reminder that in the vast ancient galaxy, sometimes the most powerful statement a species could make was simply this: no, we will not submit. We will not join. We will not surrender our freedom. And if you try to take it from us, we will make sure you regret it for the rest of your civilization's existence, however short that existence becomes. The empty throne was not a symbol of humanity's absence from the coalition. It was a symbol of their presence in the galaxy on their own terms. And every species that saw it, every diplomat that walked past it, every leader that made decisions affecting galactic policy, had to acknowledge one simple truth. Humanity had found a way to be both separate and essential, both independent and integrated, both outside the coalition and fundamental to its continued existence, because the galaxy had learned to live with humanity's freedom. And in learning that lesson, the galaxy had become better, more tolerant, more respectful of diversity in all its forms, even the diversity that came from a species saying no and meaning it absolutely. Xyloth finally understood. The empty throne was the most important seat in the entire hall, precisely because it remained empty. It represented the one thing the coalition could never achieve through expansion: the acknowledgement that some species would never join, should never be forced to join, and must be respected regardless. And humanity, strange, fierce, freedom-loving humanity, had taught them all that lesson at the barrel of the most terrifying weapon the galaxy had ever known: the willingness to destroy everything rather than surrender anything. The throne would remain empty, and the galaxy would remain intact, because both truths depended on respecting humanity's choice.